I don't care how, but you have to get out and vote. And again, Christians, get out and vote just this time. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know what? It'll be fixed. It'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian. I love you. Get out. You got to get out and vote. In 4 years, you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good you're not going to have to vote.
Just this time, you won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, it'll be fixed. Here's the thing, there's this prevailing notion, as far as Donald Trump is concerned, that if he reveals his criminality in public, that it'll somehow seem less corrupt. It's not. Just because he's saying to an audience full of people that he's going to fix the next election does not somehow make it any less illegal or unconstitutional or anti-democratic. I want to be perfectly clear, he is promising an end to our democracy in broad daylight. We ignore him at our own peril. In fact, here's a perfect example. Donald Trump posted this online. So when Trump posts stuff like that, I get that the easy read here is just to say that he's trolling the Democrats, but that's actually giving him the benefit of the doubt that he doesn't deserve. That's us letting him off easy. He's not just trolling the libs, he is signaling to his audience exactly what he's going to do. And let's be clear, they know exactly what he means, so let's not be naive on our parts. In fact, we already know how he's going to do it. There's a provision in Project 2025 that if you don't know about, you need to know about, and if you do know about it, take this opportunity to make sure that you know it well, because this is the single most chilling part of the Republicans' agenda if they do take power. It's called Schedule F. It's an executive order that Trump tried passing once in October 2020, but he ultimately didn't have time to put it into effect because he lost the election a few weeks later in November. That executive order sought to reclassify hundreds of thousands of career civil servants who populate the government, people who work at DOJ, FBI, IRS, FCC, as political appointees. So right now, a president can only replace about 4,000 people in the federal government when they take office. Donald Trump wants to expand it to almost everyone. This would mean hundreds of thousands of experts in their field could be replaced with absolute loyalists to Donald Trump. Think about what that would mean in practice. Think about what a lawless president like Donald Trump could do, for example, if the DOJ is staffed not with career prosecutors whose loyalty and adherence is to the law, but rather political appointees loyal to Trump. Remember in 2020, when Donald Trump and Republicans called for ballots to be thrown out in places like Detroit or Philly or Milwaukee, citing non-existent claims of fraud? It didn't work then, but Schedule F wasn't in effect, and the career prosecutors in the DOJ weren't willing to humor these baseless claims. Even Bill Barr called them absolute bullshit. But if Schedule F is in effect, and now you have thousands of Trump sycophants in charge of validating these claims, and deciding, you know what, we think there was fraud in these Democratic strongholds, and those votes have to be thrown away. That means that suddenly, votes in big population centers at the heart of these bogus fraud claims would be at risk. And think about whether it's possible to win elections for Democrats in Michigan without Detroit, in Pennsylvania without Philadelphia, in Wisconsin without Milwaukee. In short, with that kind of power, it means Democrats quite literally never win another election again. What happened in 2020 was them testing the fence to see where it was weakest, and they fixed the stuff that didn't go in their favor. This plan wouldn't be the first steps toward autocracy, it would be autocracy, full stop. And it's not just Trump. Take a look at what J.D. Vance said on this same topic.
I think that the thing that we have to take away from the last 10 years is that we really need to be really ruthless when it comes to the exercise of power. I was talking about this with someone earlier today, where you remember there was some threat that congressional or Senate Republicans made. If you get rid of the filibuster, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. And you actually look at it, it's like, oh, this is not that interesting.
We're going to actually deliver on our promises that we've made for decades.
Right.
Sounds
fun. This is the threat. If you get rid of the filibuster, we're going to do this stuff. Like, they're talking about expanding the Supreme Court. They're talking about adding, 2 senators from heavily Democratic places.
You get rid of the filibuster, we'll actually deliver on defunding.
We'll do what the base has been telling us that we don't want to do.
Yeah. So I think, look, I am a cynic about this and maybe even a little bit of a pessimist, but I think The challenge confronting American conservatives is that we have lost every major powerful institution in the country, except for maybe churches and religious institutions, which of course are weaker now than they've ever been. We have lost big business, we've lost finance, we've lost the culture, we've lost the academy. And if we're going to actually really affect real change in the country, it will require us completely replacing the existing ruling class with another ruling class. I say that knowing and hearing myself, it sounds really hard. It is really hard. But I don't think there's like a detent with these people. I don't think there's sort of a compromise that we're going to come with the people who currently actually control the country. Unless we overthrow them in some way, we're going to keep losing. And that's the challenge.
In other words, J.D. Vance is putting the desperation of the GOP on full display. He says right there that Republicans have lost culture, they've lost business, who are obviously responsive to their customer base, who the Republicans have also lost. They've lost the respect of legitimate institutions, and so they're going to have to overthrow the existing power brokers, as he calls them, and take control by force. His words, not mine. Notice too how Vance doesn't explain why Republicans have lost the respect of all of these groups and institutions. He just explains how Republicans now have to overthrow them. But the reason they've lost the respect of every major group and institution in this country is precisely because of this rhetoric, because of this anti-democratic mentality. This authoritarian impulse is why Republicans have lost major influence brokers in this country. And it sure is telling that rather than try to meet people where they are, their automatic reaction, their gut impulse is just to replace them, to overthrow them. They only know how to impose their edicts on people, not to actually listen to what people want. To their core, they do not believe in democracy. In fact, I spoke about this on Piers Morgan's show, where Piers even tried to shame me for rightfully calling out the fact that I acknowledged Donald Trump's penchant for fascism.
One trick that Kamala Harris missed in her speech, it was not a bad speech at all. But one thing she didn't do, she didn't allude to the assassination attempt on Trump. And it's only been 9 days since someone tried to murder Donald Trump and actually shot him in the ear, killing him by a quarter of an inch. Would it not have been a smart move in between calling him, a sexual predator and a con man and a fake and blah, 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 very ad hominem stuff? Would it not have been a smart move in terms of unity had she just taken a moment to acknowledge the assassination attempt and say how pleased she was that he survived it? Something of that nature.
Piers, I find it so bizarre that the onus is always on the Democrats, it's always on the adults in the room to create unity. Where was everybody for the last 6 years calling for unity when Donald Trump was president? And, as far as the violence is concerned, I feel like any effort to try to pin, again, the onus on Democrats in terms of lowering the temperature in this country is just a testament to the fact that the Republicans are graded on the curve. Remember, it was not the Democrats, while we're talking about political violence, it wasn't the Democrats who laughed at Paul Pelosi being bludgeoned with a hammer. That was Donald Trump. It wasn't Democrats who called for military tribunals for Liz Cheney. That was Donald Trump. It wasn't Democrats who laughed at a kidnapping plot against Gretchen Whitmer. That was Donald Trump. It wasn't Democrats who called for General Mark Milley to be executed. That was Donald Trump. It wasn't Democrats who posted a baseball bat photo with Alvin Bragg and threatened death and destruction if he was charged. So in all of these examples, Piers, it is not the Democrats who've done this. It's not the Democrats who've validated the use of political violence as a tool in this country. And it shouldn't be on the Democrats all of a sudden to be the adults in the room.
All right, Brian, to a point, Lord Copper, as we would say in the UK, right? It is the Democrats who for 8 years have screamed that he's Adolf Hitler. That's fairly violent rhetoric. You're comparing him directly to an absolute genocidal maniac who murdered 12 million people, including 6 million Jews in a Holocaust. So when you do that, that is violent rhetoric.
Piers, if Donald Trump acts like a fascist, it is not the Democrats' fault for calling him a fascist.
You're saying he is?
That is
his
Hitler?
He is Hitler?
No, absolutely not. But I'm saying he does act like a fascist. He does want to consolidate power in the executive branch. He does want to send the military into American cities. He does want to.
You have no problem comparing him to Adolf Hitler?
I am calling him a fascist. That's what I'm doing. Again, if Donald Trump wants to act like a fascist, then we should have zero qualms about calling him a fascist. Don't let the right shaming and false equivalencies about Hitler affect you. This is about Donald Trump and his fascist behavior. It was him who said that he wants to terminate the Constitution. It was him who said he wants to be a dictator on day one, who said he wants to invade US cities, who said he wants to declare martial law, who said he wants to execute mass deportations. If he doesn't want to be labeled as a fascist, he shouldn't act like one. So when we warn about Donald Trump and Project 2025 and Republican control of government and say that it will fundamentally change our democracy, do not doubt it. This is the warning, and we won't get another one. I've got a really exciting announcement. I've written a book. It's called Shameless. This book explores how Republicans have exploited their historical branding while attacking our democracy, how the media has proven itself a willful participant, and how Democrats can learn from this to rebalance the political scales and save our democracy. It has been a lifelong dream of mine to write my own book, and so I'd like to ask you to pre-order it by clicking the link right here on the screen. And if you buy within this pre-order period, your book is going to come with a signed nameplate. As you know, I've never had a single sponsor on my channel. I don't ask for money or anything like that, but if you're looking for a way to support me, this is hands down the best way to do it. So again, follow the link right here on the screen, and thank you from the bottom of my heart for pre-ordering Shameless. And as always, make sure to subscribe to see more of my content.